As we talk about worry, it is something that we know of. It has affected us. 1 week ago, we have just come out of it because every year, every 5 years, we are thinking that something bad will happen after we do that which we did on 9th of August. But you can see what God is doing in our land. God changes things. You cannot stop him from changing. Neither can you change him. It is us to change. And I'm very sure as we move forward, that thing will be history. Just the way some of us share with our children that we used to walk 30 kilometers or 40 to school. And then they wonder, you walk 30? You know, they don't believe. And they can't see somebody walking 30 kilometers or to the nearest town or the nearest market. And maybe you are just going to visit because there was no money just a few years ago. Maybe you have it now, I don't know. Me, I don't have enough. And I know God will give me that which I require. Worry or fear, anxiety or uncertainty. We are talking about things that keep us awake. Things that make us not to have sleep. Anxiety is like a monster. It is an enemy that when we are anxious, we will not be able to do anything. We will not be able to do anything. And in this life, as we are going to see, we need to rely on God so that these things can disappear from us as they have disappeared. And we are witnesses that nothing happened after 9th, and nothing will happen if even after those other issues which are there, we will go through them. And the future is very bright for us as a people, as a country. Anxiety will steal your joy. It will rob you sleep. It will rob you health because you are anxious. It will even gray your hair before your years come. Yeah, anxiety, because you are not sleeping, you are not working, you are just there worried of what happens tomorrow. Brethren, there are things in this life we can be able to control and others that we cannot be able to control. And that's why we have to depend on God. They will weigh down some people. They will also steal some people's praise. And they also diminish. That is, anxiety also diminishes the hope of many. You and me, sometimes we feel down. It's like a thief. It whispers panic, and then it brings the question, what if? What if? What if so and so never does not win? What? What happens? What if I start this business and it does not pick? Anxiety gives you all that. What if? But we need to do away with these what ifs. And we can only do away with these what ifs that we have in our life because they make us hopeless only when we rely on God. The challenge is for you and me that we see a bright future for our children. Like now, parents who have children in grade 6 have that question. What happens? This son of mine or daughter who is 12 years, how are they going to join secondary? junior secondary. It is a what-if question. But I want to assure you that God is still seated at his throne, and this will come to pass. It will come to pass. We might be worried about our children who are in colleges, whether they will get jobs. The young people that have finished colleges who are here this afternoon, and those who are listening to us this afternoon, they have the same question: will I get a job? And in a country where we listen too much, we should be listening to the voice of God, because he knew you before you were born, that you will have an opportunity to get a skill, an opportunity to get learned, and an opportunity to serve his people in a certain way. And that is God, whom we have sung, that he is unchangeable. He does not change. The only thing that we can do is to be courageous in this life and tell him everything that we need. We keep on reminding him. We keep on asking the same from him, but through prayers. Our future is in the hands of our God. In the book of Jeremiah 29:11, God tells us that, "For I know the plans I have for you." That is what he declares. Plans to prosper us and not to harm us. Plans to give us a hope and a future. Yes, for I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord. Plans to prosper you. Who doesn't want prosperity? In health and in all ways of our lives, we want to prosper. We want to prosper even in reading this word of God and listening to it and understanding what he wants us, that is to get from his word. Plans to prosper you and not to harm you. Plans to give you a hope. He is giving us a hope even when we are very anxious. He is telling us that he has a plan that we are going to become hopeful, not hopeless. That is what he is declaring here. Plans to give you a hope and a future. Friends, worry is the interests we pay in advance today for trouble that might not come tomorrow. That is worry. We worry about a trouble that might not come tomorrow. You have seen a doctor, you're waiting for results. You don't know what those results portend for you tomorrow. They might come out negative. Yeah? And even if they come out the way they will come out, God is still seated at his throne. He is waiting for you to cry to him. If only you cry to him, he'll raise you again. Worry looks at the future. And that's why you can see in this verse, there is a hope. He plans to give us a hope and a future. Because God knew that worry, those things that worry us are about the future. Will my children get job? Will they learn? Like now, schools have just opened again after 2 weeks. Colleges and universities are almost opening. And the parents are wondering, am I going to get the fee required for my child to continue to get this knowledge or skill? Friends, God knows the future that he has for these children. He knows the future that he has for you and me. And that's why, as we continue, when you look at the book of Philippians, chapter 4, verse 6 to 7. God is telling us, and this was Apostle Paul who was speaking to the people of Philippi. They had issues like those ones that we have today. Do not be anxious about anything, but in everything, by prayer and petition, with thanksgiving, present your request to God. That is the only thing that we are required to do. And things will work for us because God has given us an opportunity. One, we are alive. He has given us health. He has given you a mind which is wandering, looking for opportunities. And finally, you will settle on one as you call upon him. 7, and the peace of God, which it transcends all understanding, will guard your heart and your minds in Christ Jesus. When you know Christ, you have a place to take your issues. He does not give us power of timidity. He removed it from us. He gives you another power, and it is important you try Jesus. He will give you something that you have been yearning for and things that you did not know. What does Jesus say about the consequences of worries? That is when you are worried. What does Jesus say? When he was talking to his disciples, he asked them whether by worrying they can earn even 1 hour in their lives. And you know, these were too close to God. But he asked them, can you add 1 hour to your life? Can we add 1 hour to our lives this morning or this afternoon? So what does Jesus say about consequences of worries? That is in Matthew chapter 6, 27 to 30. 1, on verse 27, by worrying, we can't add an hour or a single hour to our life. So we need to rely on God and not to rely on worry, not to rely on man, because again God says that anybody who relies on man is cursed. A man can promise you tomorrow, but tomorrow might never come. And we have experiences of that. I waited for one man who is very dear to me for 8 hours to be taken to a place where I would have gone to college. Those are many years ago. Before my dad left this world, he reminded me, we waited for that man, and he never came. Matatos would pass, and there were few. Very few. They faced me those years. They would pass. And finally one stopped and asked her, what have you been waiting here? We have gone, we have come back. And then we described. The man left at 6, and he had told us to leave to meet at 7. He went for his businesses. But that did not stop God giving me the opportunity to move on. The only thing that I told my dad, because now it was at noon, ile pesa ulikuwa nayo, tugawane nusu-nusu. It was only 6,000, but it was a lot of money. 6K. Today, if you try to employ somebody at 6K, they will ask you, what is this? But it is something. So, let's rely on God and not man. Verse 28, God clothes the flowers. And why do you worry about clothes? See how the lilies of the field grow. They do not labor or spin. You know, we are living in a speeding life, this way, that way, that way, that way, trying to get clothes. And even when we get them, we are not satisfied. Today, you could have lifted 10 of them. Which one? Which one should I wear to church? May God help us. Yet I tell you that not even Solomon, in all his wisdom, was dressed like one of these. Small things in the field. We see them, we admire them. But we are told that this man that we read, he was the richest. And he built God the temple that he could not even afford. But behind our mind, we know that he could have afforded. Yes? But we are being told by the word of God that he could not afford to be clothed like one of those leaders with all his splendor. So God will clothe us. And that way, we'll be able to serve him in the right way. What happens to you, to your worry, when you change how you look at things or situations? What would happen to your worry? And realize that God owns your tomorrow in his hands. What would happen to your worry if you only know that God is holding me on his palm? Jeremiah 17, verse 7 to 8. Verse 7, but blessed is the one who trusts in the Lord, whose confidence is in him. That is what the word of God is telling us this afternoon. That blessed is the one who trusts in the Lord, whose confidence is in him and not on anything. Which means our worry will go. Then another question, what does it look like if your life is rooted by your trust in the Lord? If it is rooted. Rooting means that it has mizizi. You can get something from God. You can get something. The way a plant gets water from a stream, if it is near that stream. How can these roots, the roots of being able to read His word and understand it, stay in the right path, support you when you worry, when worry threatens you or want to crush you down? On verse 8 of Jeremiah 17, verse 8, they will be like a tree planted by the water that sends out its roots by the stream. It does not fear when heat comes. That is the heat of life. When it comes, you will not fear. Its leaves are always green, and it has no worries in the year of drought, and it never fails to bear fruit. In the years of this life, we are going to bear fruit. In the years of this life, we will not have worries. If only we continue making sure that and tending our roots to reach God. Just as that plant which has its roots reaching the river, reaching the water, can or does, because we have many issues and we need, to do away with them. It is only God who can help us to surmount or to overcome these issues that we have in this life. We look at 3 things that can help us to overcome fear. 1, I know those who have spoken before, and this is how the Holy Spirit speaks to us. They almost made me go underground, because The verses they gave are the verses that I was to give. And I was almost left empty, wondering what will happen. So what are these steps? They can also be practical. You can take them practically. One, remember how God has performed in the past in your life. Has he performed in the past in your life? He has performed in my life, and he is still performing. We are alive this day, and we thank God. Yesterday we had a lot of trouble. Yesterday is 2 years ago. In the year 2020, we could not come here. Could we? No. You could not even greet somebody using your heart. Yes? But we thank God that is past. He is giving us confidence that it is coming to a complete edge. But it is something that you remember in this life, how God brought us. The way he brought Israelites out of the bondage. We were in that bondage a while ago, but God has helped us to go through it. You can read in the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 1, 29 to 33, where Moses is giving a lesson and teaching the people of Israel that they need to be courageous. They need them to depend on God and nobody else. The second one of these steps is to realize what God has promised in the present. What God has promised us in the present. We are enjoying it now, including the breath, even as we yearn for the future. We plan, but God helps us to execute our plans. Our plans are futuristic. They look at that which we want to be, that house that we want to live in, that education that we want our children to have, and most likely better than us. So realize what God has promised in the present. That God's promise for you is that he will be with you. He will take care of you. And he will not break his promise. We can also read this in the book of Psalms 32:8. In the book of Psalms 32:8, I will instruct you. God is giving us instructions of how to live a better life and how to become skillful even in our other areas of life, and teach you in the way you should go. I will counsel you and watch over you. He will give us counsel. He will give us wisdom. And that's why he reminds us in the book of James that when we lack of it, it is free. We just need to ask from him wisdom so that we are able to execute our issues. And remember that he is the one who makes us. The third of it is that we should rely on God because he has planned our future. Rely on what God has planned for your future. For my future, I rely on God. This one we can read from the book of Jeremiah 29, which is very familiar, that he has planned our future. He knows it. He has already planned it. For us is to ask him to help us to get to that future. In Jeremiah chapter 33:3, he is asking us to pray. Pray to me. He is asking us to ask him of those things that he has promised us. A future that nobody can be able to search. Because even his mind is unsearchable. We cannot be able to search it. as we conclude, brethren, let us live a God-honoring life that only depends on God. God does not depend on us, but we depend on him. For this life, for those opportunities that we want to get, for those promotions that we are looking for, God will grant them to us. He'll have given us what it takes to undertake those opportunities. He gave his people that were stammerers. Others said they were children. How do you use me? Today, God is telling us that if we only realize that we rely on him, he is going to help us so that we can live a dependable life on him, and a life that we know he has designed, that he has a better future, and he thinks about each one of us as nobody thinks about us.